So, good evening, and welcome to the very first activity of the Canadian Senior Artist Resource Network, and we're really thrilled to see you all here tonight. My name is Joysanne Sidimus, and I'm a...
We love you.
Thank you. And I'm a proud board member of this new organization and the former project director of the Senior Artist Resource Project, which was a 3-year national investigation into the situation of Canada's senior artists. 4 years earlier than the actual beginning of the research project, Deborah Windsor, who was then the executive director of the Writers' Union of Canada, and myself, who was then the executive director of the Dancer Transition Resource Centre, quite independently went to the Department of Canadian Heritage asking them for money for a research project on senior artists. And they say, why don't you guys talk to each other? So Deborah came to see me, and when we met, we realized that we both had firsthand knowledge of many senior artists who couldn't pay their rent, not their mortgage, their rent, and barely had enough for the necessities of life, but perhaps most poignantly, felt cast aside and unable to continue in their chosen art form. These were artists, some of whom even had the Order of Canada and other honors, who were healthy and more than able to contribute. When we realized the scope of the issues were much larger than the concerns of dancers and writers, we spoke with 3 or 4 groups who we knew had addressed these issues in some way. This small group met for several years and decided if something was going to be done to help, it was necessary to have quantifiable data and information in order to move forward in a practical way and not just some small research project. We gradually started approaching unions, guilds, and associations to form a steering committee, and it ended up with 15 of them representing all the creative and performing art forms, as well as 3 individuals deeply interested in the issue. Everyone readily agreed to come together, acknowledging that while much had already been done in their respective organizations, a collective vision could only enhance and help to shed light on what was clearly a concern for all of us. We hired Kelly Hill of Hill Strategies Research, and after much discussion and over 14 national focus groups, he decided to concentrate with our on 5 areas of concern: career, health, housing, finance, and isolation. We know now that there are approximately 20,000 artists in Canada over age 55, and that there were 2,000 replies to our survey, which is a pretty astonishing number. Both from this and from the experience, wisdom, and generosity of the organizations on the steering committee, and I should tell you that every one of them not only actively participated on the committee, but financially supported the project as well, we were able to complete the project. We received a grant from the Ontario Trillium Foundation, as well as private donations, and an extraordinary performance artistically coordinated by Sheila McCarthy and Don Shipley at the home of Linda and Jonas Prince, and featuring some of the acting world's leading artists in support of the project. The results of the research were incredibly interesting, with a clear commitment and desire on the part of most artists to continue as long as possible in their chosen field, a desire for information on just about every issue that concerned them, and a need for more communication with other senior artists. With this document in hand, we decided to move forward and create CSARN, which is the Canadian Senior Artist Resource Network, a collective vision. It is now my great privilege to introduce you to CSARN's leadership, our Executive Director, Garry Neal, and our Board Chair, Sandra Pitblado. I'm sure most of you know both of them by reputation, but it's good to hear it again. Garry Neal is the former General Secretary of ACTRA and former Executive Director of the Association of Magazine Publishers, Executive Director of the International Network for Cultural Diversity, and now Executive Director of CSARN and the Council of Canadians, and I have worked with him, and it's been a great honor for 13 years because he is still the chair of the board of the Dancer Transition Resource Center. Bravo, Garry, and thank you. Sandra Pitblado, a legend, has served as board member and chair of the Tarragon Theatre, the Stratford Festival, and the Creative Trust, and was also the very first donor to the research project, she and Jim, her husband, and a passionate advocate of this issue. She and Jim have supported just about every performing arts institution in Ontario for years. Of course, I know them from the National Ballot. And they have also established the Pitblado Chair in Cell Biology at the Hospital for Sick Children. Because of their huge, and I can't emphasize that word enough, contribution to the arts, in 2004, they were awarded the Governor-General's Raymond Nittition Award for volunteerism in the arts. It is truly an honor to have you leading us, Sandra. Sandra Pitblado.
Good evening, everyone. So delighted to be here and know that you're here with us and wanting to hear what we have to offer. Thank you so much, Joysanne. The Dynamo. Joysanne the Dynamo. She has just been relentless in this process and trying to get us to the stage we're at now, and we definitely have everything in place to be able to go forward and offer you what we hope will be a very interesting program right now, and then going forward, helping as we all collectively look after one another. Joysanne was the driving force behind the research project, and now she is definitely the person who was getting us together to launch this organization. We're very grateful to her, and I know you all know her pretty well, so you know that there's never grass growing under her feet, and we're all on our way that way. The Canadian Senior Artist Resource Network has been created with the support of many individuals and the Artists Association for the purpose of ensuring that senior Canadian artists have information and services. We hope we get to that stage where we can offer you what you need, and this is part of what this evening is about, to find out just exactly whether we're on the right track and whether you are being serviced the way you want to be. I'm excited to know that we've got this seminar series going. We'll have this evening tonight, and then we have 4 others about which I will speak shortly. And then we also must tell you that we were able to get a charitable status, which is very exciting for us because, as you probably know, many of you, it's not always easy. We had the wonderful John McKellar help us do that, and I'm sure not a number of you are familiar with John. He's a lawyer in town, but he's also an arts advocate par excellence, so he was a great help with that. Now tonight we have 5 presentations, which should take us about an hour, and we'll have a 10-minute break, as Joysanne said, and then we'll have some refreshments and so on. The presentation this evening are about the services which the cultural sector already provides for senior artists, and in the coming weeks our seminars will cover these topics. May the 14th, government programs, collecting what you're due as a citizen and taxpayer. May 28, financial basics for senior artists. June 4, estate and legacy planning. And June 11, the business of art, how to maximize your talents. All the seminars will be held right here, and thank PAL so much for being so generous in allowing us to be here. You've also been provided with a feedback survey, and that would be very important for us, as I mentioned earlier, and any words that you might like to say to us about what you would like to have. But we do have a survey. We'd very much like you to help us in that regard. I want to thank Morneau Chappelle Incorporated, who have generously sponsored this series, this CSARN series. And it's quite a thing for them to go ahead and give us this sponsorship, and also go ahead with getting us the space and so on. Finally, we're extremely grateful to the Ontario Trillium Foundation, who has provided the funding for the Senior Arts Project for this year. And we hope that we will be able to, obviously we're going to be doing some significant fundraising, but we do have the comfort of knowing that the Ontario Trillium Foundation is behind us 100%. So it's very gratifying to know that, as I'm sure you know. The research that we did found that the Canadian cultural sector has already spawned a number of organizations. You all are probably familiar with them. PAL and Supporting Cast, of course, are the lifeblood of a number of you. They're focused on specific needs for senior artists. Others, like the Actors Fund of Canada, Artists Health Centre, provide services to all artists, whether they're at the beginning, middle, or approaching the end of their careers, or the twilight zone, if they might like to say that. It's my pleasure to introduce now for our first speaker, Dan McDonald, a distinguished Canadian artist who, in his 50-year career, has worked as an actor, director, narrator, and producer. But what brings Dan here tonight is the tireless work he has done to promote the status of professional artists in Canada. He was the first president of the Canadian Actors Equity Association when it became independent of the American Union, was also the first president of the ACTRA Performers Guild. He's been involved from the very beginning of the Performers Arts Lodges movement and presently represents PAL Canada on our CSARN board of directors. Dan?
Bonjour, bonsoir, hello, and welcome. 15 pages here, so don't worry, it's very large print. I want to welcome you all to this place where it all began, where PAL began and from where it has expanded, growing from that small group in Toronto, trying to find some affordable accommodations for older artists, to our present far-reaching and essential presence throughout Canada, in 8 locations, hopefully 10 soon, with 3 lodges, very soon to be 6, recreating and preserving artistic community ties amongst our most highly trained but vulnerable and least compensated workers, and succeeding past all expectations in building oases of creativity and security where we've taken root. We are very proud of our accomplishments and of our army of fully volunteer workers who have accepted and continue to accept the responsibility for seeing that this country's older artists are not only recognized for their contributions to the cultural life and the betterment of our society, but that they are assured of being able to remain involved in their art and live out their lives in an environment of security, companionship, creativity, and respect. PAL is dedicated to assisting older, disabled, or needy members and associates of our arts community in the areas of health, well-being, and affordable accommodation. PAL Canada does this through its network of autonomous chapters, all working under its umbrella to provide a community focus of care, interest, and involvement for our colleagues. Unlike most other countries, Canada had no national charitable organization dedicated to the needs of senior professional artists until PAL in 1986 led the way in planning and developing affordable housing for our unique community, establishing award-winning credibility and an enviable national reputation along the way. It immediately pioneered a volunteer assistance program called Supporting Cast, providing companionship, personal care, and health assistance to individual colleagues, exemplifying in practical terms our PAL motto, caring for our own. And caring for our own is no idle boast, but a guiding principle of our altruistic work. We do it because it's necessary, yes, and we do it because we care. Even prior to our formal founding in 1986, it had become clear that assisting our colleagues was not as simple as arranging affordable housing. No, it was far more complicated than that. Indeed, having a place to live, critical as that was and is, was really a small part of older artists' needs. Our founders discovered that many colleagues who were existing in retirement homes, above all, needed compatible companionship. They needed artistic contact and stimulation. They needed what the late Barbara Hamilton described as a chance to get together with their buddies and lie about all the work they've been offered recently. In other words, they wanted to take an active part in their cultural community where they could discuss their craft with those who understood the vagaries and impossibilities and joys of creating something for others, with others. All things unattainable in an old folks' home. Evidence was also suggesting that formerly vibrant artists quickly went downhill in such surroundings. When they could no longer practice their art, they became isolated from their communities, with no outlet for their creativity. Depression and ill health often ensued. To address the many, perhaps peculiar problems of aging artists, our founders launched Supporting Cast, a volunteer outreach program providing a vast array of services specifically addressing the health and social service needs of older artists. Supporting Cast is usually the first step in establishing a PAL chapter. It becomes the seedling from which PAL chapters grow. You'll hear this in greater detail from Patty Gail Van Everpeaker a bit later. Patty is not only a founder of PAL Canada, but also a co-creator of Supporting Cast program. And from its beginning, she has been its indefatigable evangelist throughout the country. At the national level, PAL Canada promotes the goals of the whole organization by providing a national identity to our autonomous chapters and assisting with written and financial resources where possible, all dedicated to assisting chapters in the better delivery of their services to members. PAL assists in the establishment and growth of new chapters by facilitating mutual cooperation amongst chapters and the sharing of templates and experience during various stages of development. The coordination of necessary surveys and applications for assistance from granting and social services organizations, along with archived and up-to-date information on special or out-of-the-ordinary areas which might require assessment, and many other items of interest and necessity are available on the national body's website at palcanada.org. I urge you to visit our site and read further aspects of our history. Browse our research documents, dip into our quarterly newsletter, Palingenesis, and hard copies I have available, and we'll make them put them on the tables here afterwards. And I hope you will become intrigued enough to want to investigate further how you can play a role in the PAL story. And if you so wish, it's quite simple, an inexpensive matter, and you may find yourself wanting to do more to help us achieve our objectives. The need for increased and more complete services has grown exponentially over our 26 years. We struggle to address the expanding immediate needs of our clientele while keeping an eye to the future requirements of the elderly, a subject now more generally talked about in all sectors of our country. While representing PAL members and chapters to other national organizations and dealing with issues of broad national concern, PAL Canada also endeavors to provide access to national sources of funding, which can be of benefit to the chapters and their membership. This is problematic with any number of organizations in today's economic climate, as I'm sure you'll agree, and it is even more severe in these days of restraint, even concern, when so much more is expected to be done with so much less. In PAL's case, not only do we now undertake so much with restricted funding, but new areas expand unceasingly, and these problems we must tackle. One such area is the quickly growing need to provide extended care services to our aging members. Here in PAL, much work is focused on permitting our aging artists to remain in familiar surroundings when such services are needed. Our population is aging. We long ago recognized the tip of this iceberg. Most of us will reach a stage where we can no longer take care of ourselves and must submit to extended care, which I suppose is not bad considering the alternative. But PAL wants to provide the comfort of assuring that the artist will be amongst colleagues in familiar territory, looked after by those who understand, and whose only reward is the knowledge that they are caring for our own. Now, PAL began as Performing Arts Lodges of Canada with a specific purpose: to provide affordable accommodation for older members of the performing arts. However, we quickly realized other areas had to be addressed, and over the years, PAL has evolved, as all relevant organizations must do. Immediately it became apparent that health and social issues, social services, and especially questions such as companionship, belonging, active contribution to society, security, and creativity also must be addressed. It also grew more obvious that inclusiveness needed broadening, so that the benefits of PAL would be shared more widely throughout the professional arts community. In PAL lodges today, you will find a wide variety of artists as residents, but also as beneficiaries of that sense of community that a PAL presence generates. As PAL establishes an idea around which like-minded people can coalesce, people come together. And this is what artists do, after all. And in most cases, particularly in the performing arts, we create our work together. In addition, PAL establishments have proven good for the neighborhood. Where lodges have been established, problem areas have been regenerated into diverse, inclusive, and healthy enclaves. This building we're in is a very good example of this. With the building of PAL Place, this abandoned, rather scary neighborhood blossomed into a very desirable, active, creative, and secure part of Toronto's downtown, promoting development and proving that investments such as affordable housing and arts facilities have long-term positive effects and are key components in any city's strategy for renewal. As you will surmise, all this activity continually generates more ways in which we can help others. Being volunteer organizations, PAL Canada and her chapters are skillfully adept at providing admirable outcomes with limited resources. But how do we address the increasing demands of those resources, both physical and financial? Now, we have no problem. If somebody just wants to give us money, that's fine. But I suggest that it's more rewarding and more efficient to establish creative organizational partnerships with those who share our objectives, those who wish to support the extension of our services and want to share in the pride and satisfaction we all feel when able to help others, especially the older, more vulnerable among us. Such support will make a direct and vital difference to the health and well-being of individuals who might otherwise face bleak futures, enabling those who have spent their careers bringing delight, joy, and illumination into the lives of others to live out the latter part of their own lives with dignity and grace. Such support also contributes to the strengthening of cultural connections throughout our country, something always sorely needed. The oldest members of our PAL community include some of the pioneers who helped form our nation's artistic landscape. By helping them, an artistic legacy is preserved to be passed on to future generations of artists and of audiences. Thus, supporters become pioneers also. By adopting an innovative approach to providing for the elderly, the ill, and the disabled, PAL has created a template for assisted living and community support that can be adopted by other organizations. The senior artists may, in fact, serve as a model for other sections of Canada's labour force about to face similar circumstances and obstacles in the future. The arrival on the scene of the Canadian Senior Artist Resource Network demonstrates an awareness of this. We welcome an organization dedicated to finding new, more efficient ways to help those already providing the existing wide range of services to older artists. This, to us, is the value of Canadian Senior Artist Resource Network, of which we are proud to be a founding member. As a resource network, its existence should prove very positive for organizations such as PAL in making a network of resources available to further our cause. In turn, organizations such as PAL can prove to be very positive resources for CSARN. whereby PAL can provide the strength, knowledge, and practical experience by which enhanced solutions for community support of our senior artists may be encouraged. We look forward to increased cooperative efforts in the continuing expansion and improvement of our caring environment in the lives of those who have contributed so much to Canada's culture and economy, and whose final days ought to be lived out in dignity, security, and respect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dan. A man full of passion, and that was lovely. Our second speaker is Patty Gail, who is a singer and actor. Patty, whom Dan mentioned, is also involved in PAL from its earliest days. She's co-founder of Supporting Cast and currently serves as its chair. She also coordinates its activities and volunteers at PAL Place and beyond. Patty?
Well, thank you, Dan. Thank you, Sandra. Good evening, and you've already heard. My name is Patty Gail Van Evra Peaker, and I am a proud lifetime member of the Performing Arts Lodges of Canada. Dan kindly gave you some of my early history with PAL Canada, and I should add, well, actually Sandra did too, that I continue to serve on the PAL Toronto board as chairperson of Supporting Cast and in-house volunteer coordinator for Supporting Cast services, along with my colleague Roseanne Fugera, who is PAL Toronto's part-time staff health services coordinator. I also happily serve as the PAL Toronto representative on the PAL Canada National Board. Very, very busy board. Excuse me. Supporting Cast history begins in 1986, prior to this site and building of PAL Place. Our name, Supporting Cast, which some of you may know, was suggested by the late Lynn Gorman and has served our special purpose and community very, very well. Somewhere between 1999 and 2000, PAL prepared the Supporting Cast Suggested Guidelines booklet. As PAL spread to other parts of Canada, these guidelines formed the basis for the establishment of Supporting Cast services and, indeed, even of PAL chapters themselves. Today, the guidelines help formulate particular Supporting Cast services throughout PAL. And if you, who are here this evening, would like a copy, please leave your name and address or email with me or any one of the program planners, and we will be happy to send you a copy. What is Supporting Cast? It is an outreach program, as Dan mentioned earlier, which provides one-on-one support, assistance, and companionship for PAL residents and others in the varied performing arts community living elsewhere in the Toronto area. That means that we don't just work with the people in this building, but we go to, when we're called, go to performers and artists who call on us who live in any part of Toronto. Our philosophy is caring for our own, and you've heard that many times before. Caring for our own in their own apartments or homes to help them maintain a good quality of life, remain active longer, notwithstanding health and or mobility problems. We do this by providing companionship, running errands, arranging transportation with or without escort, assisting with correspondence, sometimes light housekeeping, arranging appointments, providing mobility aids, and a large part of our service is in advocacy. Very, very important. Since Toronto Supporting Cast operations have existed the longest, they may be the most fully developed. Also, individual chapters will have adapted services to address specific needs in their area. However, an overview of our operations here at PAL Place will give you a good sense of how Supporting Cast operates throughout PAL to a greater or lesser degree. Supporting Cast Health Services Coordinator, I mentioned Roseanne earlier, coordinates basic health, social, and community services for residents here in PAL Place. And she will coordinate and arrange for services to those living elsewhere. Some of the health service seminars and clinics include nutrition, hoarding. Some of you have heard about hoarding these days. Vision loss, preventing falls, active living, audiology, therapeutic dance, mental health, and Tai Chi. We also have a relationship with a community social worker whom we can call upon when needed. This particular social worker works for Toronto Family and Community Services, and she worked with us before PAL even had a site. We were working with her in the early 1980s, before we found our site. And Lynn still comes. She has trained some of our volunteers. She comes for individual people when we ask, and she's been very, very helpful. And I always recommend that if you can get your hooks into a good community social worker, hang on to them. In the past 3 to 4 years, we have introduced Supporting Cast Dependable Club. Anybody know what that is? Which supplies and delivers incontinence products at a subsidized rate and an emergency call button that we call the Guardian Alert. We provide, where possible, all manner of mobility aids. We liaise with registered professionals to offer on-site service. We assess the needs of old artists, such as meals, grocery shopping, safety, and earlier I mentioned transportation and advocacy. We can even provide help with your favorite pet. With the financial support of Active Fraternal Benefit Society, we provided a 1-year pilot project of cluster cleaning, where we supervised and coordinated cleaners for residents with special cleaning and decluttering needs. We are privileged to be a partner with the wonderful Dixon Hall Supportive Housing Program, a program initiated in 1998 by the Ministry of Health for the benefit of seniors 65 and up, where professionally trained personal support workers, PSWs, as many of you will know, for 3 buildings, including ours, they come in daily to provide that special one-on-one service that Supporting Cast is not able to provide. Supporting Cast has a good working relationship with the Toronto Community Care Access Centre. Some of you will know them as TCCAC. Several local community agencies with Dixon Hall, which make for a remarkable team. We are becoming more known by name at Bridgepoint Health Rehab Center, at St. Michael's Hospital, and their Elders Clinic, which some of Toronto residents attend periodically, and the local walk-in clinics and the local drugstores. Many of our residents are now quite elderly and require increasing daily care. Limited options exist for affordable assisted living. Moving residents to a long-term care or a nursing home risks isolating them from the performing arts community, and it is proven that the lifespan disintegrates once they have been, of necessity, forced to move. We continue to assess the needs of our fellow artists and endeavor to maximize the services available. Since many of our colleagues are not able to pay for private professional assistance, PAL needs to continuously fundraise to help support these needed services. We look forward to expansion to another building or partnering with another arts organization where professional daily assisted care may be maintained, whereby allowing our performing and other members of the arts community to remain with their peers for a much longer period of time. That's pretty well it for me, and I don't think I've overstepped my time. And I do thank you for listening, and if you have any questions, I will be glad to answer them at the end of the seminar. Thank you.
Wow, there we go. Thank you very much, Patty. That was great. Did you say you had a declutterer? Everybody needs a declutterer, I think. I think that's wonderful. Then our next speaker is a very active board member of our board of directors on CSARN. And David Hope is a certified general accountant, and he is also the executive director of the Actors Fund of Canada, which has been very helpful to us in our setup of our fundraising situation. So that very grateful to David. David's going to say some words. David?
Thank you, Sandra. I'll be very brief and offer a brief description of the Actors Fund. But first I want to say how delighted I am here to be here with you and how wonderful it is to be amongst such esteemed colleagues on the board and how wonderful it is to see the dream that became CSARN, having been nurtured for so many years, finally come to pass as an incorporated organization with charitable status and well on the way to success in serving the needs of the community. We weren't there at day one of what became CSARN, but I'd estimate that we were there in about the second week of the development of CSARN, and over many meetings and many hours with Joysanne and Deborah Windsor and our wonderful colleagues here. We really are very excited about at what's to come with this wonderful project. Some of you may know that the Actors Fund was begun by actors, but since the beginning, it has been the lifeline for everyone in the entertainment industry. In 1958, 5 actors, Jane Mallett, Barbara Hamilton, Donald Davis, Barry Morse, and William Needles, threw $1 each in a pot, and the Actors Fund was born. We've come a long way since then, but from day one, we've been passionate about the value of the arts and artists in our society, and we've been very passionate about nurturing artists' continuing ability to do their work that benefits us as Canadians in innumerable ways. We all know that a life in the arts can be a tough slog. There are tremendous highs and there are very low lows, and through it all, the Actors Fund is there to see you through. We provide emergency financial aid to artists in all sectors, film and television, theater, music and dance. It's not just for actors. To allow people to maintain their health, housing, and ability to work when those critical things are in jeopardy. Many of us will know a friend or colleague in the business who's had a significant setback, whether it's an illness or an injury, family crisis. Any number of things can happen that will throw one off track and make it impossible to meet one's daily expenses or impose an extraordinary financial burden. And we all know, of course, that many of us live on very thin margins. And, in this business, it's often feast or famine. And when it's famine, we're pretty hungry. So, given the vulnerability of artists in our sector to income insecurity, the Actors Fund is there to lend a hand, to give somebody a break when they need one, to give someone a second chance, to take a breather, to bounce back from adversity, and to go back to doing the work that they're meant to do. The Actors Fund is an independent charitable organization, always has been, but our small office in Toronto was able to do its work across the country with the help of our very valuable partners. PAL is certainly one of them. The unions and guilds across the country are very important to us. Actor Fraternal Benefit Society is a major funder of ours. And also appreciative audiences across Canada on a very regular basis make their contributions when cast members after performances give curtain speeches, and audiences are universally moved when they hear about the situation facing artists that they might never have imagined to be the case. We all know that there's glamour and glory, but we all know that when lights go down and you're done for the night, and you're on your own in your own home, worries can creep in. What am I going to do? My contract's ending. When will my next job be? How will I pay the bills? The Actors Fund, again, believes that artists should be respected and supported and helped through the tough times so that they can go on to create work that we're all proud of. The Actors Fund does provide emergency financial aid, and we provide things like it really is tended to be short-term emergency financial aid. We provide assistance with rent or mortgage payments, with medical expenses that aren't covered by insurance, with grocery money, with emergency transportation. Basically, what someone would need over the short term to keep the lights on and food on the table, keep the phone connected, until a larger, more permanent plan can kick in and carry one through. This year, the fund will provide over $450,000 of emergency financial aid to artists across the country. In the last 10 years, we've provided over $4.7 million in financial aid to the most vulnerable members of our community. Since we began, we've assisted over 11,000 people, and that number continues to grow. On every stage, on every set, across this country, there's someone who's been helped by the fund. Whether you're aware of it or not, someone you know, someone you may be working with or have worked with in the past, has been assisted by the fund. The Actors Fund makes its investment in the people, in the artists of Canada, because we believe that that's an investment that will pay off in innumerable dividends over the long term. I think that's mainly what I wanted to say. Again, I wanted to say that we are delighted to be here, delighted to be a part of this great organization. I will be here for the duration of the evening if you've got any questions. And finally, I'd encourage you to find out more from our website at www.actorsfund.ca. Thank you very much.
As you can see, we've got quite a roster of excellent people with us. Bryan Croft became the newest member of our community when he recently took over as the managing director of the Artists Health Center and the Artists Health Center Foundation. He will speak about the work of the Artists Health Center and the foundation. Bryan?
Thank you for the opportunity to come speak. I'll admit that it's a bit strange to talk about the Artists Health Center and the foundation, being so new in the community and having Joysanne present, who is very instrumental in the founding of these organizations. But thank you for having me. I'll begin by sharing a few words from patients who have benefited from the center and help create a picture of what the vision is of the center and the foundation, and depict what it is that we do. So here are a few quotes. "The peerless expertise, research, and innovation make for medical and artistic triumph. The Artists Health Center is unlike any other I have encountered. The beneficial resources offered by the special place are indispensable to the artists of our community. The clinic's specialized practitioners provide outstanding care, and the Education and Outreach Department offer many inspiring seminars, classes, and lectures which have been beneficial both to me and my students. And lastly, finding the Artists Health Center has been an incredible relief. Through its nurturing environment, I've been able to reconstruct and bolster my confidence. Now I feel I can continue creating, this time with a greater knowledge of self, voice, and place. So what are we about? We're about partnership between the artistic and medical community, with the Toronto Western Hospital and University Health Network specifically. We're about offering comprehensive, holistic care, including treatment, prevention, and education. We're not only about healing, we're about strengthening and empowering the creative community. We're accomplishing these objectives through work of the excellent clinicians at the Centre, through the work of volunteer committees such as our Artists Committee, and the educational and outreach initiatives of the Foundation. And it's a really remarkable experience at these workshops. For me, it's been extremely fulfilling to see artists benefit from the excellent practitioners that we have and the presenters, to learn the skills to become stronger and more confident, to allow them to pursue their work. What is the Al and Malka Green Artists Health Center now? Simply put, it is a health center designed by artists specifically to meet the needs of the artists. With this general definition, you'll understand the work that we do at the Foundation. The primary objective of the Foundation, which came together nearly 20 years ago, was to see such a health center come to life. Today, the Foundation continues to be the voice of the creative community and makes sure that the center continues to meet the needs of the community. And as a result, we have a strong support base at the center. The lifeline of these organizations begins in 1994, when the first steering committee was formed. This was a committee of artists who undertook a needs assessment survey, and this revealed that there is a want and a need for a health center for professional artists, a place where all artists can heal, cope with injuries and mental health issues, and gain strengths. So it is a center not just for one specific discipline, but for all artists, and this is part of what makes us unique on the international stage in healthcare. Leaping from 1994 to 2002, the Artists Health Center found a home at the Toronto Western Hospital and will soon celebrate its 10th anniversary. Through all stages of growth, the hospital and the Foundation have kept in close contact with the creative community. This is very important. The Artists Committee continues to be involved with public education and outreach development, and it makes sure that the center is meeting the needs of the artist community. What does the health center look like today? We have practitioners that include a chiropractor, physiotherapist, psychotherapist, family physician, shiatsu therapist, nurse practitioner, registered massage therapist, craniosacral therapist, naturopathic practitioner, and registered acupuncturist. Resources include an assessment studio, support groups, mindfulness-based cognitive therapy, and stress reduction workshops. And the practitioners really are sensitive to the needs of artists. For example, a registered massage therapist works with National Ballet. One of our physiotherapists currently works with Warhorse Cast and worked quite a long time with Disney, and they're performing artists. Our practitioners are either artists themselves or very much integrated into the artistic community, and therefore I think have a certain sympathy for any issue that you might have, and will hopefully find an appropriate course of treatment and help you be strong. The Al and Malka Green Artists Health Center is internationally unique, facility serving artists of all disciplines. The interprofessional team offers both medical and complementary healthcare services, and these two groups continue to work collaboratively. It is a center that continues to grow and receive positive review from patients. Strong patient satisfaction is a testament to the skill of the practitioners and their understanding of the stresses, both physical and mental, of being an artist. From 2008 to 2011, the center had over 6,900 patient visits, and the annual number increases from one year to the next. The Artists Health Center is fortunate to have the Toronto Western Hospital as a major partner. That's truly a benefit. This partnership helps to provide the personnel, the space, equipment, financial support, and credibility to the center. And I'm sorry someone from the center couldn't come tonight, but they're at a staff meeting. Now on to the Artists Health Center Foundation. We continue to support the center itself. We work to promote the center to the creative community, to engage the community both publicly and in the school system, and encourages everyone to participate in prevention workshop as part of our education and outreach program. We are a link in the network of resources available to artists, and the foundation shares these resources with the community at large. Our mandate is to raise the standard of healthcare, educational resources, and the quality of life for artists, and to take those resources out into the community, both locally and nationally. It is our hope and dream to expand. Right now, much of our work does focus on the Toronto area, but the work that we do can serve as a model for other cities across this country. Our resources are available to you, and we welcome the opportunity to partnership beyond the GTA region. Our website is ahcf.ca, and there you'll find an overview of our activity and contact information if there is interest. Our education and outreach program presents workshops and clinics on artist health issues and promotes strategies and tools for self-care and wellness. Topics include injury prevention and care, movement technique, physical therapy, nutrition, psychology and mental well-being, self-esteem, and stress management. And there's a whole host of themes that fall under these broader categories. Our work at the foundation extends beyond the clinic by offering this public programs and health education at a number of schools. Professional colleges and universities focus on the craft. We complement the students' curriculum by sharing knowledge about health and wellness, provide tips to tackle the reality and stresses of life as an artist, and provide methods to stay healthy. The foundation also manages the Joysanne Sidimus subsidy program, which is available to artists of all ages. It was created to encourage and support accessibility to services at the Artists Health Center. Many services are covered by government, but we do have some that aren't covered. So for this reason, we will provide support to artists who are in need. Since its founding in 2004, we've given $170,000 in grants to professional artists. Funding is provided through private donations and fundraising events, which are ongoing. And most notably is what is now an annual event, the Artists Affair Gala, in partnership with the Toronto General and Western Hospital Foundation and the Tafel Music Baroque Orchestra. Finally, read a few words from Peggy Baker, which reveal a nurturing and creative relationship between artist and health professional. Her full testament is on our website and actually really inspired me to get involved in this community and to come to Toronto to work for the Artists Health Center Foundation. So here are a few of her words. I have a colleague who likes to remind me backstage that we hold the performance in our bodies before the concert begins. The whole show is right inside us, she says. Each human is a body of knowledge. We literally carry our history and our potential in our flesh and blood, and we navigate a world of landscape and circumstance that we constantly interact with. Healthcare practitioners who work with artists become a part of the artist's world and work by virtue of their interaction, just as the patient becomes part of the practitioner's professional life and personal history. We are great and crucial collaborators. So the center continues to work because of the integrative approach to healing between various modalities and because our practitioners are sensitive to the needs of artists. The foundation continues to educate artists about health management so that they can have a strong voice. And nothing to me is more inspiring than attending a practitioner's workshop to see a number of health professionals around a table to talk about a specific case. And these are all professionals of different modalities, all working together to talk about how they can collaborate for the treatment of a patient. It really is an inspiring situation. Last Saturday, I attended a symposium at the Art Gallery of Ontario, maybe some of you were there, called Exceptional Minds, the Convergence of Art and Mental Illness in the 21st Century. At one point, the approach of complementary treatment was expressed as being beneficial, as was the need to an increase of psychiatric services in the hospital setting. This is precisely what the Artists Health Center provides. There is an expressed need for change. We have already responded to this need locally by creating an integrated care facility within a hospital setting. As far as we know, there is no other such center internationally. So again, it is truly unique and something to celebrate. There is much work ahead to encourage further growth and sustainability of the center and to increasingly participate in research. This remains a long-term goal towards the advancement of healthcare for artists. I invite you to contact us to share your ideas. We have grown because of the artistic community, and it is important that we hear about your needs and welcome your ideas that you might have for workshops. Everything we've programmed is because of the communication we've had here in the artistic community. So please do come forward with your ideas, and together we'll continue to be of service as best we can to you. Thank you very much.
That was wonderful. Thank you. Garry Neal is the CSARN's executive director, and Garry has spent 30 years working in cultural policy. In his career, he's done considerable work on status of the artist issues as a consultant for many Canadian organizations, the federal government, the provinces of Saskatchewan and Ontario, and UNESCO. And Garry is the stability behind our organization. He really is keeping everything going and has offered all of us great guidance as we go forward. And we're delighted that he's on board and looking after all of our interests. So I look forward to hearing what Garry has to say. Garry?
Thank you very much, Sandra. And thank you as well to all of the members of the board of the new organization, the Canadian Senior Artist Resource Network. It's, of course, not news to anyone in this room that artists are unique. Most artists come to the field because they love to draw, paint, write, make music, sing, create films, dance, or act. It is only later that the passion becomes a profession. To work in Canada as a professional artist inevitably means working in different ways from others. Artists generally are highly educated, but poorly paid. Most are freelance, and therefore do not have access to public and private benefits, pensions, and other programs that most Canadian workers take for granted. The creative nature of the endeavor also means that the work has an ongoing economic value, which can be reflected in future royalties, residual, and other fees that may continue to flow to the artist long after the work has been made. In future seminars, we'll be exploring what some of these things mean for senior artists in relation to government services, finances, estates, and legacy. To address the unique situation of the artist, our community has developed a number of programs and services to deal with the reality of the way that artists work. You've heard about a number of them here tonight. But perhaps the foremost of these, of course, are the associations, the guilds, and the unions that artists have built and which work to improve the professional circumstances. These organizations provide services related to collective bargaining, contracting, dispute settlement, copyright, networking, training and professional development, advocacy, and legal matters. Some provide insurance and pension, retirement programs, and affinity benefits. Let me touch briefly on a couple of the other organizations beyond the unions and the guilds, beyond the organizations you've heard about here tonight, other organizations that may be of interest to senior artists. The Artists' Legal Advice Services is a collection of lawyers and law students who generously donate their time to provide summary legal advice to artists living in Ontario. ALAS has been helping artists, actors, musicians, dancers, writers, and filmmakers address problems related to contracts, defamation, copyright, trademarks, and royalties. The clinic serves as an excellent first step for artists who want to understand their legal rights or deal with specific problems but are unsure of where to begin. In British Columbia, the Artists' Legal Outreach and Education Society provides a range of legal resources for professional artists. Another interesting new initiative is the Creative Arts Savings and Credit Union, which is a cooperatively run financial institution launched in 2008. Anyone who's a resident or worker in Canada and who earns all or any portion of their income from any creative art is eligible to join. The credit union provides a full range of banking services and does so in a way that is sensitive to the unique way that artists work. For example, by providing loans and mortgages, despite the intermittent nature of the contracts and the payments. One very interesting result of our survey was that the overwhelming majority of senior artists do not retire. In the research study, 76% of respondents expect they will never stop working, and a further 12% expect they will do so only when they reach the age of 80. Yet artists have career needs, including computer skills and technology specific to the discipline. In this area, senior artists have equivalent rights to other artists for training programs offered by various groups. The first place to look for these is through the provincial sectoral councils for culture. Here in Ontario, that would be the Cultural Careers Council Ontario and its website workandculture.ca. CCCO offers professional development and training workshops as well as a wide range of career resources. The unions and the guilds, of course, are another excellent source of information about one's career, including current professional opportunities. I could go on about the various programs that are out there for artists, including senior artists, but the main message of my brief intervention is this. Keep in touch with your associations, your union, your guild, and with your artistic networks, because all of them have something to offer, and in my experience are ready and willing to do so. Let me just for a couple of minutes talk to you about what we hope to achieve with CSARN over the next period. CSARN exists to support senior professional artists. To qualify for services, an individual must be at least 55 years of age and must have been a professional artist for at least 10 years. Initially, I think as others have pointed out, CSARN will work to support senior artists in the area of finances, housing, career, and health and isolation. And it will do so in the following ways. First of these, we intend to collect, update, and disseminate information about services, programs, measures, and systems that exist to support senior artists. These may be relevant to all Canadian seniors or just to members of the artistic community. The second thing we intend to do is to identify, develop, and as necessary, implement new services that will assist senior artists in areas where they are presently underrepresented and underserved. And finally, we intend to collect information about the evolving circumstances, situation, needs, and interests of Canadian senior artists to help inform the advocacy efforts of the arts and cultural associations, guilds, and unions. Because what we want to do is to work to encourage these organizations to advocate specifically for the needs of senior artists.